Hi everyone, welcome back to another Amazon FBA selling for beginner courses. So for today's video, it's going to be very specific to mostly Canadians because I got this question so many times and in my DMs about how to sell on Amazon.com or the US marketplace as a Canadian, because it's a little bit different process than, like, say if you were like elsewhere in the world and then you have to register for an LLC, which we're going to go through that real quick. And I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet so that I'm just providing all the facts. And for full disclosure, I have not yet started selling on Amazon.com, but I'm very interested in it. Hence why I've been doing a lot of research on it. And I do apologize that it's taking so long to release this video because I've been trying to scale my business. Like, I've been making purchases about like 3 times more than like I did back in November, December, which really took a toll on my physical health in some ways. But and also doing a lot of research on this topic because I don't want to provide you guys any wrong information here. But let's jump right in. But I should also mention that this video is for educational purposes only, so please do your own research and try to come up with your own conclusion to what fits you best for your business or however you want to invest. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about debunking some of the myths I come up and see it in so many like of the Canadian Amazon group, because there's a lot of people in there that aren't selling on actual like Amazon.ca.com, and they get all their facts like kind of mixed up here and there. So first of all, like I mentioned, you don't need to have a US LLC to sell on Amazon.com. And you can actually use the Canadian business number to register, and I'll show you that in the next couple of slides. And also you don't need to be a US resident or even have physical address to sell on Amazon.com as well as not needing to have an EIN or resale certificate if you want to sell on the US marketplace. However, if you wanted to do wholesale or private label, you do need an EIN and or resale certificate. And to get that, I'll go over in the next few slides as well. But let's just some of the facts out of the way. So what do you do with the mailing address? So as a Canadian, you don't obviously have a US address. And the way to get around that is to use a service like Ship-it-to, where they basically provide you with a US address. So this particular company is designed so that you can actually ship packages from the US, any retail stores, for instance, and ship it to them, and then they'll forward the package to Canada. But they also give you a free US mailing address, which you can actually use to sign up for, I don't know, like some banks or some like credit card, for instance, and all those things that you need to get logistics together, or maybe even like if you want to apply for like an account or something that you need a mailing address. So this would fit well as well. There are other services out there, but I know that Ship-it-to is fairly popular for a lot of users, so I know that it works for sure. If not, you can try to apply for like a UPS PO box. Instead of putting that as a PO box number, you just change it to like a suite number and stuff. That's how you get around like not using like the PO box number. But I think this company is probably easier for as far as mailing address. Now, which bank should you use for operating in the .com or the US marketplace? There are two main ways to go about this. The first one is to basically sign up for the cross-border banking. So if you have a bank account in Canada, so I'm using BMO personally, and you can use RBC. I haven't researched into CIBC, but I know that TD doesn't have a cross-border for business account, only the personal ones. So basically you sign up for the account in the Canadian base, and then you sign up for the cross-border so that they are essentially kind of like linked, and then you can basically move money back and forth between and converting between the BMO Canadian account or RBC Canadian account to the cross-border account. And make sure you sign up for business one only, because I've seen people getting shut down using RBC cross-border personal account. Whereas if you're to use a credit card, you can actually use like a personal credit card to make like business shopping purposes, and you just put that into your QuickBook or whatever, however you keep track, and it works just fine. You don't get dinged about that. I've been running this business for like quite some times, and has never been an issue. The other options, which I think is easier to do, is to open a Wise account or OFX, or there are other companies as well. These are basically like the global currency kind of like, and then you can actually use as a checking account as well. I already contacted Wise, and I'm like very, very certain that they even wrote on their website that you can use for the Amazon.com without any issues. So they basically have like different accounts within their account, and then with different currency, and you just have to use one of the checking accounts, let's say for the US dollars and stuff like that, and then put that as a deposit for the Amazon, so that they'll deposit your money into here, and then you can make a conversion later, convert it back to Canadian, or wherever you want to sell from, like if you're not from Canada. So what about credit card? So this question came up a lot too, because people don't know what to do with it. And one way, and I didn't mention in here, is to actually obviously open the cross-border banking. And like RBC, they actually have it tied together where they have the cross-border banking as well as another US dollar credit card. But those ones, personally, they charge you annual fee and they don't really give you a lot of benefits. But if that's what you want to go for to start, that's okay as well, to establish some credit history and stuff like that. And there's also another method which I much prefer because I love Amex. Like Amex give me such a good points compared to like other Visa or MasterCard, relatively speaking, of course. So there's a company called Nova Credits that have a partnership with Amex. So you can essentially use your Canadian credit history as well as from a few other countries as well. It's not like exclusive to Canadian, to basically open like the Amex American Express cards in the States. And obviously that's assuming you have a good credit history, blah, blah, blah. And they have to review the cases by case too. So it's not a guarantee or anything, but that's just a way to go. And once you establish credit history in the States, then I'm sure you will be able to open other US Visa or MasterCard or whatever. And I do really realize that it's quite hard to use Amex in some particular cases. So you might have to operate using your bank account, for instance, to make a payment. And I'll have all these links that I copy on my PowerPoint slides, and then I'll put it in the description so you can look at it and do further research yourself. But I would recommend this as the rewards points are great. I looked at a card myself as well. If you're doing OA, online arbitrage, you don't actually need EIN or a resale certificate, tax certificate to actually sell in the States. And the way to avoid that is to basically use a prep center, which I'll go over in the next slide. But if you're doing wholesale, you're definitely going to need, they're going to require you EIN and or the resale tax certificate. And the way to get around that is simply just to call IRS and tell them that you have a Canadian business number, and that they will actually grant you an EIN. So you don't need an LLC, which has been told by so many VAs in the Canadian group for some reason. I think because they didn't know any better, and they obviously sell, they didn't sell, but they provide service to both the US and the Canadian client, and that's their assumption for some reason. But yeah, you don't need US LLC or business number, just use your Canadian one. And this is actually more preferable to a lot of Canadian users or clients, or where you are running business, because opening a US LLC could lead to a double taxation, which you have to talk to your accountant for this to basically avoid being double taxed on both sides. So doing the business this way can avoid that. But of course, you should speak to your accountant anyway. I'm not an expert on this topic. And lastly, how to avoid sales tax. So as I mentioned, just use a prep center that's located in a tax-free state. So unlike in Canada, where they basically charge you sales tax all across almost, I think, every province, right? They charge you GST, HST, or PST, QST, and then you basically claim it back later. Even if you don't have a sales tax resale tax certificate, you can actually set up prep center in the tax-free state. So when you're doing OA, you won't be charged for like 8.5, 9.5 sales tax. So you avoid that altogether. Although I noticed that the prep center in the tax-free states tends to be a little bit higher. So like I'm paying under a dollar like Canadian for most of my prep fee here, whereas over there it's like $1 to $1.50 even for USD. But I will provide this link down below as well for the Seller Essential, where they basically list many of the popular prep center, as well as which ones are in which state. States, like province, states, yes, US. And then which one is actually tax-free, which one is not, and wherever. So you have to do your own research on this, because I have not personally used any of them, so I can't make any recommendation on which prep center is good, which is not. But anyways, that's about it for this video, and I hope you found some value into this, and hopefully you have some more clarity in order to get started selling on Amazon.com as a Canadian or wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.